Welcome to the show. You are one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy here on YouTube.com and online all the time at westhesportsguy.com as well. Make sure you hit that Liberty Bell and subscribe to get the updates of every new video right here on YouTube. I am back. As you can tell, I have returned from my trip to Cooperstown, and as promised, I will be recapping Cooperstown here for you this week, and also with the Do You Remember segment and Feel Good Story of the Week as well. If you missed the previous episode, episode 20, it is on Facebook at my Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com/Wes the Sports Guy and you can find episode 20 there. It has not been uploaded to YouTube, and I'm probably just going to leave it as is on Facebook, but you can check it out there. And also go to Instagram and follow my Instagram feed with the story that I posted with some pictures from the trip, and also posting on my Instagram page as well some pictures of me and my oldest brother Josh on our trip to New York City, Cooperstown, and finishing up in Boston with a game at Fenway Park. Basically, really going right from the beginning, as I alluded to with the recap of the trip. We landed in New York City on a Thursday. We spent basically that first day walking around New York. And if you haven't been to New York, basically just a quick sum up of it is that it is a very busy town. The term "the city never sleeps" is not a joke at all. That city does not sleep. It seems every second of every day it is just constantly going 24/7. But we were walking from our hotel near Times Square. We checked out what Times Square had to offer, which is just a bustling center of that city, if you will. And we took a walk from there all the way to the Empire State Building, which didn't seem that far from a distance. When you see how tall that building is, it's like, oh, it's not that far away. It's just a few blocks, really. But no, it's actually quite a bit. We walked quite a bit in New York City to get to the Empire State Building. We went up all the way to the 80th floor, the 86th floor, and the 102nd floor, which is the highest point you can go in that building to get the bird's eye view of the city and its surroundings. As you can see from the pictures that I'm posting here on YouTube, one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy, you can see what we basically had to see there, and the views are just speechless. I mean, there's no words really that you can describe some of those views up there. And honestly, if I were to go back to New York City, I would definitely partake in that Empire State Building view. I will say though that the 86th floor viewing, if you are afraid of heights, which not to say that I'm deathly afraid of heights, but it definitely hits you once you get into the 86th floor balcony. It is an open area, not open to the sense that you can, stand on the edge or anything like that, but there's some railings there that kind of obstruct the view just a little bit. I mean, your cameras can zoom in and get through those seeing eye holes that are in it, and then the railing kind of extends from the top down towards you, so there's no chance of you thinking about throwing any objects over. They prevent that, obviously, and they do check your bags, so there's no chance of that happening. But when you get to that 86th floor view, it is open. You feel the wind hitting your face instantly as soon as you step outside, and it's kind of intimidating. You're pretty high up. I don't know the exact feet, but it's pretty close to 1,000 feet up in the air, and yeah, it's pretty intimidating. So if you are afraid of heights, just a word of caution that that view is spectacular still, but it's a little frightening, just a little frightening. But when you get to the 102nd, it's inside. You're not outside. It's a nice little windowed off area, and the views are just, again, spectacular. There's not many words that you can use to describe it. It's just a amazing view of the city. It was a great day. It was a bit humid, but regardless, still a great day of New York to take everything in on that first day. Friday, we were going on a quick bus tour leading up to the 9/11 Memorial, and that in and of itself doesn't really hit you until you're actually there. When you see the pictures and the videos of the memorial, obviously emotions are running high when you see those images and videos of that memorial, and from all of it on TV to social media, wherever the case may be, wherever you see them, you can go to their website as well and look at the images of it. It doesn't hit you until you're actually there. When you step foot at the memorial, it is a lot of emotions. Did not lose anybody personally to those attacks on September 11th, but it still affected me, and it affected everybody, I'm sure, exactly the same way. When you see the videos and the images happening that day as it happened, it was very emotional. Said a silent prayer while I was there. They did say, our tour guide for the memorial did say that you could touch the names on the countertops, the plaques. They were meant to be touched, but I didn't feel it was my place to put my hands on them, even though I didn't lose anybody. I just didn't feel that it was right. But I said a silent prayer for everybody involved that was lost, and everybody that lost somebody. And there was also some uplifting moments as well when you're there at the memorial. You can see one of the pictures that I've included was the survivor tree. The story behind that essentially is that this was the only tree in that square that survived the buildings coming down. It didn't need to be recuperated, obviously. They took it to another park in the city to be recuperated. Also, when Hurricane Sandy hit that area a few years ago, it flooded the entire area. The tree still survived that. And once they put it back in the memorial site, they have some steel rods going through it, which kind of hard to tell in the picture. But that essentially has the tree live another 25 years. I forgot the name of the tree, but it's essentially a kind of tree that only lives to be about 25 years. You put those steel rods in it, it lives another 25 years. It extends the life of the tree. So the city did that when they discovered it, recouped it, put it back in the memorial site. It is also the only tree on site in that memorial that is allowed to change its colors during the season. So when it's fall, the leaves turn orange, red, and yellow. Every other tree that's there, they do not change their colors. The leaves don't change colors throughout that season. So it's a very poignant sight on that memorial to have that survivor tree. And it was, again, another emotional point, but it's also an uplifting point throughout. And also another thing I did not know when we visited the memorial was that the white roses being laid on certain names throughout any given day of the year at the memorial signifies that it's somebody's birthday. So that was also another one that just hits you there in your emotions and you really think deeply what really matters in life when you're there at the memorial. And it hits you, like I said, it hits you like a ton of bricks once you walk on the grounds. And it was definitely an experience I'm never going to forget. And we should never forget what happened. And like I said, it's definitely a place you should see when you go into the city. Did not go into the museum, but that's definitely on my bucket list when I do go back to the city. I would definitely like to partake in that museum, not just the memorial outside, but also inside for the museum. Later on that day, Friday, we were going to partake in a Yankee game. Unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate. It was postponed due to lightning in the area. So we basically partaked in Monument Park, walked around the stadium. It's a very big stadium. It's definitely got the Yankee charm to it. Unfortunately, we did not partake in a game, so there was not a whole lot of time spent there, unfortunately. But regardless, it was still a once-in-a-lifetime experience to check that out. Cooperstown in and of itself, there's so much to see there. It's hard to see it all at one given time. And I definitely want to go back to at least spend a day, 2 days at least, to just partake in everything and look at everything, not just flash photography and take pictures and look at it later. I'd like to actually experience everything that's there. But since it was induction day, over 55,000 people were in attendance for the induction alone. It was packed. There was a lot of people. Even though we were able to pretty much see just about everything there in the museum, it would definitely be nice to go back and look at everything and take it all in, rather than just kind of walking through it and taking some pictures and looking at a few items, obviously, but weren't able to look at everything piece by piece, and that would definitely be something I'd like to go back and do once again. The Hall of Fame parade was a great experience. You got to see over 50 returning Hall of Famers and the 6 inductees take part in the parade, which I think was the highlight of the weekend. The induction ceremony itself was great. Hearing everybody's speech was fantastic. It was moving. It was emotional in some degree, but it was also funny. There were some good stories there. Chipper Jones had a couple good ones in there. But it was great nonetheless. If I had to say what was the highlight of it, I would say the parade and Cooperstown itself. The induction ceremony was packed, like I said, over 55,000 people there, but I'm not poo-pooing it at all. It was still a great experience. Would I go back for another induction ceremony? Yeah, there might be a handful of guys I would go back to, but it's not at the top of my priority list. I would love to take part in the Hall of Fame. Piece by piece, like I said, there's just so much to see. It's not a lot of time, unfortunately. And then we ended our trip in Boston at Fenway Park. Got to see a game between the Phillies and Red Sox. Game went to 13 innings. Got to partake in a walk-off celebration of the Red Sox. You see it on TV all the time. Not a Red Sox fan, obviously, but it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience as well. Fenway Park, once you walk into that place, you feel the history hit you, and it just wants to, spin you around and take you in so many different directions. And looking at the view from the Green Monster, it was definitely one of the most unique views you'll ever see in any ballpark. There's a red seat in right field that signifies the longest home run hit in that ballpark by Ted Williams. Surprise. Of course, it's Ted Williams that hits that home run. And the history is just everywhere. You can't turn one corner without seeing some piece of history that's being on display by the Red Sox. And they do a great job promoting that ballpark, and rightfully so. I mean, that other than Wrigley Field, that is the oldest ballpark in Major League Baseball. And if you are as big a fan as I am of the game, that is absolutely one of the parks you should see on your bucket list. You should try to see them all, obviously, but that is definitely going to be at the top of your wish list if you want to take in any kind of history when it comes to baseball. Moving on, the segment that won't send you to jail for handing out plastic straws. Do you remember?
You remember?
Do you remember when there wasn't Twitter? I can't really explain how to phrase that, but do you remember the time before Twitter, I should say? Well, I remember that time. I'm sure most of you remember that time. There was no Twitter. There was no vitriol. There was no Twitter mob. There was no lashing out. There was no Donald Trump having to hear him every single hour of every single day via Twitter. You don't have to see the reaction to what he tweets. This is before he was president, obviously, but you didn't see a whole lot of him. Now you got to see him 24/7 because that's the way we live, and that's the day and age that media consumes all of the information and throws it back at us. Well, I'm kind of sick and tired of Twitter. I'm pretty much over Twitter. Twitter in the beginning, when it first started, it had a good avenue for people to voice their opinions about pretty much anything and live their day-to-day lives. Then it slowly became something that it shouldn't have, and that was partly at the hands of Charlie Sheen when he joined Twitter with the stupid hashtag of winning. He is at the forefront of why I hate Twitter. It's not the main reason, but I definitely cannot stand Twitter right now because it has turned into a mob mentality. We are digging up old things that players, specifically Major League Baseball players, have tweeted in the past, whether or not it is something that is determined to be offensive, stupid, whatever the case may be, but we are digging up old tweets of what they said when they were 17, 18 years old in high school, aka I'm talking about Josh Hader of the Milwaukee Brewers, Sean Newcomb of the Atlanta Braves, and Trey Turner of the Washington Nationals. They have had tweets unearthed where they included the N-word and homophobic slurs, stuff that you would not say on Twitter or with anybody for that matter. Now, I'm not defending the actions of what they said. Even if they were quoting rap lyrics, I don't think you should be using that word in any conversation, tweet, whatever the case may be. I'm not defending that. What I am a bit upset about is the fact that we are now going after people for any little thing and demanding either they apologize left and right, they either need to lose their job, they need to repent for every little thing that they've done. We live in a free society, and what that free society means that there's something called the First Amendment. And what's in that First Amendment is called freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of press, obviously, freedom to assemble, freedom to petition your government, if possible. There are 5 things involved with that First Amendment. And most of you probably don't know those 5 things, but you should. Now, including in all that means Twitter gives you that freedom to say whatever you want, even if it can be determined to be hateful. You do have a right to say that. I'm not saying you should, but there is a freedom to say those things. You don't have to retweet them. You don't have to like them. You don't even have to respond to them. But there's a little saying that we all grew up with that I think we forgot nowadays, and it's called "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Words are not hurting me, and if you want to tweet your vitriol to me, go ahead and do it. Doesn't mean I'm going to respond to it. Doesn't mean I'm even going to read it. But you have the right to do that. There might be some things that I've said on Twitter that might offend people, but I know I've never said anything like that. To quote a rap lyric, I know I've never called a person a homophobic slur. So go ahead and dig up my old tweets and see if you can find something and try to come after me if you want. That's your right to do that. I'm a bit concerned with the fact that you have nothing better to do than dig up old people's tweets and try to attack them for it and demand what kind of justice, I don't know. But it's a freedom that we all have to do that. Enough of this mob mentality. I am sick and tired of Twitter. Twitter is done to me. I'm only using it to promote my website and this show, and that's basically it. I'm not promoting it for anything else. That is all. But again, good luck. If you want, go have at it. But enough of this mob mentality. I am not partaking in it. I am not going after people for anything that they've said, wrong or not. I don't agree with what they said, but I'm not going to demand that they be ruined for something like that. They have a right to say it. I'm not saying I agree with it, but they have a right. I'm leaving it at that. The Twitter mob has no place, in my opinion, for ruining people's lives over something that they said. They have a right to say it, right or wrong. That is the end of it. Time for something to make you feel good. The feel-good story of the week. I'm going to let young 8-year-old cancer survivor Brecken tell the story for you from Blue Springs, Missouri.
Brecken Lemonade, but it's really supposed to be Brecken's Lemonade Stand, but we could fit stand on there.
Brecken Simmons may be 8, but he's got some big plans.
We get lots of cars on this road, and lots of cars drive on Duncan.
So he decided to take advantage to help his local police department.
It's a good thing to do for the Blue Springs Police Department, because they'll stop what they're doing and they'll come out to help people if they're in serious trouble.
I think it's great. We've tried to teach generosity, to him and his older brother, and it's nice when a kid has their own idea and just kind of allowed to do that on their own.
Brecken has a goal in mind.
I'm just trying to see how much I can do. I want a lot more over $12.
And the lemonade doesn't cost much, just whatever you can give.
We just wanted people to just be able to give whatever they wanted to, and so not to be limited by an amount, and whether it's a dime or a $10 bill, it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever they want to give is what we want to do.
Whatever Brecken can get, the Blue Springs Police Department is honored to receive.
I fully expect this from a kid like Brecken.
What are you giving in for lemon? Lemonade.
Thinking of the community and thinking of doing something to help others. And I think it's a great way to show other children that, in the community they can make a difference by giving out some goodwill. And doing it with just a glass of lemonade is a great way to show that we all can band together and enjoy some positivity in our life.
They do a lot of stuff to help us, and they just do a lot, and they should deserve this. They should get a break.
Sheree Honeycutt, Fox 4 News.
Good on you, Brecken, and I fully support you doing the right thing, setting up a great lemonade stand to support your local police department, and that is just a quintessential example of a great kid right there. 8-year-old cancer survivor Brecken. That is just fantastic. I just love the stories like this. I will be sharing them with you for ever and ever and ever, as long as the show continues here on youtube.com. Hit that Liberty Bell. Make sure you subscribe to get the notifications for each and every new episode that gets posted there. For episode 22 coming at you next week here on youtube.com and online all the time at westthesportsguy.com. I will see you.
Legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown and gold is lifted.